So, Sean, we had worked together for about 6 months, and I know you suffered through your bout with chronic neuroplastic pain and chronic pelvic pain. Since it's been some time since we've been able to connect, I just wanted to see how you're doing and see how your life beyond pain is going and what's new for you.
So things have been going pretty well. I'm continuing to work on the things that you and I were working on together. But in general, back to normal life as far as getting in the gym on the weekends, doing stuff with the family as well afterwards. So I'm definitely getting in and doing what I want to do more consistently with less discomfort. I'm still having my days where it's a little difficult during the week, commuting to Greenwich, getting through the day and commuting home. And sometimes I think just the stress of the day starts to wear on me. But even now, I'm getting up and taking a walk around the office complex, getting out to grab lunch, moving around as much as I can. I'm staying more busy. So even then, the discomfort is a little bit less. But I think the biggest revelation for me is just anything that's causing me stress, whether it's been soccer or it's work or it's family stuff or things around the house, just understanding that in the big picture, things are going super well. Everything is really good in my life, and to just have more gratitude and just relax and put the stress on, put it in a box, put it on the shelf. I recently had, I'll say this, I think anyone that has a kid that plays sports could relate to this, where I was freaking out at one of the soccer games where Ben, I didn't think was playing really well. And I felt like he was just not himself. And I visibly was reacting on the sideline, and he was noticing that. And then I even said some things that I definitely wasn't proud of. And so that's a bad moment. But what came from that it was like, what am I doing? Why am I getting this way? Why am I getting so upset? And then I ended up apologizing to him. I apologized to Diana. I apologized to basically everyone that was around me. And then I'm like, he's 10 years old. He's going to have games where he doesn't play so well or whatever. This is about developing and having fun. And it was amazing because we talk about neuroplastic, and I'm like, soon as I let that stress go, where, look, we're going to do this as a family. This should be fun. I immediately started feeling less discomfort. I started enjoying myself better. I had a phenomenal weekend. After that was a phenomenal weekend. I'm like, what am I doing getting stressed about a 10-year-old playing soccer? And so that's just one example, but I'm learning to appreciate life a little bit more and accept what I can do right now and build on that. And so for now, it's last weekend I was able to do a 45-minute cardio session, and it's like, that's awesome. I wasn't able to do that before 6 months ago. So for me, getting in the gym 3 days in a row in the morning, waking up and being that like the first thing I accomplish, to me was a huge win. And so I'm doing that on a more regular basis now, enjoying the soccer games. At least ever since that one weekend, I feel like I've been much more relaxed in general, letting stuff go, whether it's financial, paying bills, or keeping up around the house. Just let it go. Everyone's doing their best. And so I'm becoming less me with still being me. So I still have high standards. I still want things to be done well, but I'm less edgy about it, just sort of accepting circumstances that are in front of me and just doing the best I can with it. So that's where I'm at.
Wow. So this is something that you and I worked on quite a bit, Sean, at Pelvic Heal and then Your Life Beyond Pain. The concept that pain is not just physical, and the chronic neuroplastic pain that you were having and the pelvic pain that you were having. I think when we started working together about a year ago, you were so focused on the physical, which is normal, and we all are, and that's how I was as well. But I think one of the big breakthroughs for you that you just described is this idea that there's a social component to it, there's an emotional component to it, there's a stress component to it that can really turn up or turn the dial down to these symptoms. And that, from my perspective, at least as your coach, has been a big breakthrough for you. And you're very able now to calibrate that and gain some awareness and gain some separation between your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, which all impact the chronic pain experience.
Yeah, and so the goal for me now, I'm not fixated on just one thing. It's just how I'm going to live, right? Last weekend we went out and I was like, you know what, Diane, I'm not going to drink at all this weekend. I really don't want to have any alcohol. I'm having such a good weekend. It was beautiful weather. Ben had a nice soccer game and we came back and we were just relaxing outside. And we ended up going out with friends to a brewery, which is normally a place where temptation island for me to start drinking. And I'm with friends, and my immediate reaction was like, well, I don't really want to drink, so I'm just going to have a non-alcoholic beer, right? And I'm like, I'm just going to do that. And sure enough, I had a couple of beers. I was fine. I was engaged in conversations. I had a good time. And it's funny because it was like, here I was in the past, I would immediately have started drinking. I probably would have overdrank. I probably would have had a bad night's sleep. I probably would have not worked out the next morning. And just a simple course correction in terms of just say, I'm not going to drink. I don't need to do this. I ended up having an amazing day the next day. So for me, it's just trying to put it all together. Can I eat right? Can I limit the alcohol? Set myself up for success the next day? Whatever's going on the next day, can I just enjoy it? And just enjoy being and just being happy. And so far, it's going well. I noticed Diana has noticed some changes in me just recently being more relaxed. And that's the thing. So when we talked about this months ago or even years ago, what was I doing at the time when the symptoms came back? I was drinking too much. I was exercising a ton, and exercising is not a bad thing, but the way I was doing it with fighting and arguing was during COVID, and I was ready to combust. And so really just calming down. And even when I work out now, it's funny, I tell myself this is good. There's times where I feel some discomfort, even going to the gym, right? And I don't know if that's because I associate working out with pain, but there's times where I'm literally getting ready to start my workout and I'm like, this is good for me. Take a few deep breaths, relax. And then I start working out and I'm in no pain. And then I'm like, oh, I got through 35, 40 minutes of cardio. And then I get off and I still do the rest of my exercising and I'm fine. And then I walk out of there feeling amazing. So I'm starting to break down some of those barriers where it's like, I can't go to the gym. If I go to the gym, I'm going to get more inflamed. I think it's about just doing to me, taking away my exercise completely is just going to stress me out even more. So for me I need to get some exercise in. I need to eat healthy. I need to limit alcohol. I need to get good quality sleep. And I need to enjoy my time with my family. And that's kind of where my head's at. And for the most part, it's going well. I still have my dips. I still have discomfort and followed by, oh no, why is this still happening? I still get those thoughts, but at least I'm aware and I try to get myself out of that state as quickly as possible and try to move on and do something else. So.
And for those that are seeing this maybe for the first time, when you started with pelvic heel and then your life beyond pain, you had severe symptoms, weren't exercising at all, weren't getting to the gym, right? It was pretty bad. So now to be exercising upwards of 3 times a week, doing intense 45-minute cardio sessions, it's a big transformation. And that doesn't happen overnight. I think the key here, Sean, that I'm taking in from you at least is you're able to increase your capacity for the stress and build some habits over time, habits that have allowed you to understand this better, move through it better, and basically just get back to your life beyond pain. So maybe talk to us a little bit about in the past, what would have happened if you had this pain and were exercising? Would you have retreated and gone home and been angry versus now kind of taking a step back?
I would have been. So if the symptoms came on, I would be depressed. I think that's the first thing is like, you're really depressed about it. And then you get anxious about, so is this going to continue? How long is this going to continue for? I don't feel normal. This has interfered. For me, it's interfered with, takes me way back to college when originally this came up. And for me, it took 3 years from my playing varsity tennis or playing for my school. It just took so much away. So for me, I look at it like, I can't even believe this is happening. Why is this happening to me? And so you go down that rabbit hole and then it just gets worse. And so for at least now, I don't react that way. I really try to calm myself through it and then make sure I continue to stay busy. If I had to modify my gym exercise, if I had to go swim or walk or whatever, I just think it's important to do something. to do nothing is just, again, that has a whole nother stress to it too. So, and as far as getting through the work day, take more breaks, take walks. I don't know, talk to people that are in the office, try to make conversation. So I'm learning to adapt to that better as well. I think commuting is the worst because I think it's just a stressful thing in general. Anybody that has to commute more than 30, 40 minutes to work. So I try to take the train and try to just put on a podcast and work on some self-development. So for me, I got a pretty good balance going on. The other thing I do too, to remind myself to stay on track, is just when I start thinking about, oh, the physical pain, well, what if the urologist missed something? Or what if the sports medicine doctor missed something? And I do have some notes that I'll look at to remind myself that this is what happened when you went to the urologist. This is what happened to you when you went to physical therapy. This is what happened when you got an MRI. This is what happened to you when you went to pelvic rehab in New York. And so remind myself that like nothing anyone else can really do for you. It's time to focus on things that are going to help you calm down and relax and help melt away the pain is kind of at mentally. I do have to remind myself because it's physical. Like I still get that burning sensation. It's nerve pain and can be, you think physical, right away. For the most part, I've gotten far along now to be able to calm those thoughts down and to focus on being healthy. It felt like I've always told you that I need to optimize my health first, right? I need to put good food in my body. Diet has to be good. I have to get good sleep. And then I can work on all the mindfulness. And so that's been helpful, right? To just be mindful and just appreciate life and try to relax through stuff that would normally trigger me. And then the alcohol would just trigger me more. So ease up on that. When that doesn't interfere with my day, I'm so much happier. I have so much more energy. I end up appreciating what I can do right now. And hopefully that's going to just be more and more over time.
Yes, I'm very pleased and impressed to see your progress, Sean, and how you're just back to life. And it's kind of beyond the pain, understanding that sometimes there may be symptoms, but you're better equipped to handle it now. You're hitting on a lot of the foundations and the fundamentals, such as the quality sleep, the movement, right? Good relationships, good diet. But I think a lot of people struggle to implement that. Like, we'll know what to do, but it's hard to do it. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows how to get a six-pack, right? But six-pack abs, but not many people are walking around six-pack. So it's that implementation over time when life becomes a little bit challenging that makes things difficult. And what's so impressive about your journey, Sean, and us working together is that you really implemented a lot of the tools and the strategies that we worked on. And now you're able to reap those fruits, if you will, or the benefits. You're also, it's an honest journey, right? Things aren't perfect. It's not 100%. A lot of people are waiting for things to be perfect or waiting for things to be 100% to get their life back. I'm curious, how do you feel about that versus what you're doing now?
I think for people that they need to see progress, and it's hard when you're not seeing progress and you're in a state where you're constantly being flared up by everything. I think like told me kind of slowly dialing up the activity. In my instance, in college, when this first came about, I was embarrassed to really talk about it with other people and close friends of mine really knew what was going on with me. I had a lot of distractions. If I went to a party or if I went somewhere, I quickly realized that if I was distracted or I was busy, that certainly helped. That was one thing, like for me, even today, like I don't want to go to a soccer game and start talking to parents about CPPS and like pelvic thing, burning since like I try to distract myself as much as possible. And when you notice that you do that and you stay busy, if you reflect on that, like I was realizing, well, I wasn't in pain there. Like I wasn't in pain doing that particular thing. I was in pain once going to soccer practice. And then I literally sat down on my lawn chair, getting ready to watch my son Ben play soccer. And then I'm not in pain. So like, I think you have to stay busy. And then I think you start small. Like I was afraid to go to the gym, right? Because every time I went to the gym, I got flared up, right? So I started going for some walks, right? I started doing just small things, just inch my way forward, and that helped tremendously. But I think it's tough because it's physical pain. go to doctors, you're expecting a diagnosis. Nobody's giving you a resolution. They're not giving you a diagnosis. They're just giving you another name, another syndrome for these symptoms. It's very frustrating. I think to pull yourself out of it, you got to do two things. You got to distract yourself, stay busy, stay active, go out with your friends, do all the normal things that you would normally be doing. Maybe dial down any physical activity, but like normal stuff. Just being depressed at home is not going to help. And then slowly start to, because for me, most people I think that are used to being active, working out is a stress reliever. So now that I'm able to kind of beyond limitations of like, oh, if I go exercise, I'm going to be flared up. I feel pretty amazing. And honestly, it'll set myself up well for the whole day just to get that morning exercise in. That may look different for everybody based on where they're at in their journey, but I think, and then I told you about my struggles with alcohol because that was a coping mechanism for me. So I wouldn't view myself as an alcoholic, but like I would love to unwind at the end of the day and have a couple of drinks. And then you keep drinking because you're sedating yourself, right? And all of a sudden you're just really setting yourself up for the next day to have a terrible day. But you go a couple nights during the week where you don't drink and you realize everything's fine and you don't really miss it. So I do think people need to just be healthy, and then they need to calm down on what probably may have got them here in the first place. Maybe it was the combination of exercise, drinking, and stress during COVID and all that stuff. You got to unwind that, and then you got to tell yourself and be strong mentally. You really kind of need to sort of, this is stress. It's stress. It's neuroplastic, right? It's all in your head. And not that the pain isn't real. It is real physical pain, but are my thoughts, are my emotions, are what is driving those signals, right? So again, I've tried to calm down as much as I can. It's hard for me. I'm type A and I'm driven in a lot of ways. Pelvic pain will sort of correct you in a way. So I learned to calm down and appreciate life a little bit more.
Yes, you hit on so many amazing topics there, Sean. There's a lot to unpack regarding distracting yourself, your mind. I had those scenarios too when I was suffering with extreme chronic pelvic pain, and maybe I can get out for an hour if I was lucky to meet a friend for lunch, and we would have some jokes or laughs or a good meal, and I'd realize, wow, my pain has dissipated, or it's gone away completely, right? From like a level 8 to like a 2 or a 0, and then I get back home and it's back again. So those types of instances are very informative, but you have to be aware enough to understand what's happening and then kind of behind why that's happening. And I would go one step further and say it's more than just distracting, but living a life with purpose, right? Having a purpose for you. You have an amazing family, right? You have a career, you have that you care for, and goals that you're striving towards, not in a way that's going to stress you out further, but like outside of the whole focus being on us and suffering and the day-to-day heaviness of that, and kind of outward towards, right, your son's soccer or his development or the relationship with your wife or any charity work that you do or people that you're mentoring through your career, as I know you've done over the years. That's so important as well, right? Living a life with purpose. Now, for someone watching this at home saying, well, I'm a single guy, I'm a single gal, and I don't have a family, I don't have a job. It doesn't matter. You have to start somewhere. It could be that stranger that you meet, that you light up their face, right, by doing a kind gesture, or some charity work that you do, or just being kind to someone. Getting outside just us.
I have the unfortunate, not the luxury, of going through this in college and also going through this in my 40s. And I can tell you that when I was in my dorm, it's when I was just sitting there at night, that's when the pain was the worst, right? And when I'm home, focusing on it and thinking about it in a stressful state, that's when the pain was always the worst, right? So the more my roommates could get me out and do stuff, better off I was, right? And same thing with now. Like, I guess I want to be clear here. I would love to be able to get after it and to have a goal, like I want to run a marathon or a big cycling race or race my dirt bike. But like now, like that healthy for me, right? Right now, like, son's trying to be a really strong soccer player, and there's a lot there for me to do, right? There's a lot like I could help him out, him. Right now to just go to the gym and kind of get my head on straight. Life is stressful, especially in your 40s. You start losing loved ones, you start losing, parents, and like I just think that I've had to sort of myself with the expectations of myself, right? I have a great family. I have a great job. My son's pursuing soccer. I'm into it. Cool. That's been fun. I can still get to the gym. I can still do what I need to do, right? And that along with eating healthy, I can still, athletic and feel good. So there's so many good things. Hopefully over time I get back to where I can continue to, up and go after it. And I was doing a lot more before COVID, before this happened. So hopefully I can get back to that, but it's definitely not the main focus anymore. The focus now is to just be happy, right? And be content, live a good life. So happy with the progress I've made. Definitely less stressed, more content. I'm happy with my life. I didn't even realize was as good as it is. A lot of good stuff. I'm not exactly, I just want to be honest with the audience here, still not where I would like to be. I'm still working on myself. There's times where I get caught into the trap of stressing about it, or I'm tempted to go online and search for answers and YouTube and watch these videos, and everyone thinks they have the answer. And so still find myself slipping into that. I've had to create notes for myself. I've had to create reminders for myself. I've had to reflect a little bit on the journey, right? Like, it was something truly physical and broken inside of me. I figured they would have found it by now, right? They haven't found anything. So what I did to get out of this years ago is the same thing I'm doing now, which is just live and be healthy, relax about it. So all I can say.
Yes, and you hit on a few great points there. I think the gratitude is key, Sean. What I'm sensing is that you're just so grateful. You're grateful for your life. You're grateful for your family, your loved ones, and leaning into that gratitude instead of just constantly being focused on the problems that we have. And when you're suffering from chronic neuroplastic pain, whatever it is, fibromyalgia, that sticks around for years, or pelvic pain, it's easy to get sucked into everything's wrong. My life is terrible. This is never going to change, and all of that catastrophizing. So it takes a lot of work to turn that upside down and focus on everything that we do have. And you've done such a great job at that. And I appreciate your honesty with what you're still struggling with, because the reality is the human experience. We all have doubts. We all have ups and downs. I have them too. For now, it's not pelvic pain, but when those thoughts come up, we have to constantly be vigilant and shift our focus to what we're grateful for, what's working, and just continue moving in the right direction. So the gratitude that I'm seeing and feeling from you, I think, has been a major factor in your recovery, as well as getting to the root cause of what was kind of these pains for you. I think you and I worked on that quite a bit. You mentioned your challenges with alcohol, and for some people it's alcohol, for others it's food or cigarettes or marijuana or sex addiction. Those are all really coping mechanisms, but they're not the root cause of what's causing your chronic neuroplastic pain. So you and I worked on that quite a bit, to kind of to the root cause, and then applying some strategies and mindsets and techniques over time to transform, because it really is a transformation process. You mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm not who I am, I'm different, but I'm still me. I think that's very powerful. Like, sometimes prospective clients will say to me, Christian, do I really have to change who I am? Like, I want to get out of pain, but I don't want to change. And that's kind of, understand it, but it's really counterintuitive when you think about it, because we are where we are. In this case, let's say if you're suffering with severe pain, we're in that position for a reason.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to get out of that until we make some changes in our lives and changes internally. And you have demonstrated that, while at the same time not giving up who you are, understanding you still have goals, you still have ambitions, you still have that drive to do things and achieve things and perform, but really figuring out how to do that without grinding yourself down into a pulp, which is what most people do, myself included, which gets us to chronic pain to begin with. And I think that's the real journey, being able to transform. It's a transformation process that you're still going through, and I'm still going through in other ways, not with pain, but other areas of my life. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
I think my default is to just be grinding or intense about something, or to be pushing, even when I don't think I am. Even like people around me, if they describe me, I know if my wife was describing me, she would say, "Man, you're the most intense person I know." And there's times where I don't even feel like I'm being intense. She does, whether I'm taking out the garbage or we're going to work or what, I seem to have this certain aura about myself. So yeah, I do think all day, if that switch is turned on and I'm not getting into a relaxed and calm state, then sure. And then I'm dumping alcohol on top of that, or I'm over exercising on top of that. Like, so you start putting all these things on top of it. And that's how I view that I got here in the first place, because for me, the symptoms were basically gone, manageable, as long as I didn't overstress myself out. Enough, COVID gave me the time to really kind of myself out. And that's what happened. So for me, it's still like, whether I'm at the gym or if I'm doing work, I'm still doing those things with a high level of precision, and like the in between that I'm trying to just walk into the train, like relax, enjoy, actually notice the weather, maybe be mindful about something, or think about how lucky you are or how good your life is. Or I've started to, like, give you an example, like to the office. For me, I'm not even thinking. I used to be thinking all about, like, thinking and stressing about the day before I even got there. It's like the train ride, listen to the podcast, relax, no matter what. And I get to the office, whatever's going to be there, I'm going to handle fine. Everything's going to be okay. And like kind of throughout your day. It's balance. It's have to just be, I guess I listened to a recent podcast, and that the lady was talking about most people are going through life being mindless, right? Not mindful. Last weekend, I didn't do a whole lot, but I got to the gym. I was super proud of myself. I enjoyed that. And I sat outside for a while, and I was just relaxed. And I thought about my son's soccer game. I thought about how good I have it to be sitting out here in the backyard with this weather. And I was in no pain. I had barely any discomfort the entire weekend, and that's working out 3 days in a row. So I pushed my body, and then I had this sort of calmness about myself. And I still went about my day, but like I felt like I was noticing things more. I was appreciating things more. Just calm down. And I think that it's hard to calm down when you're on fire, right? Or when you're in pain, you're in discomfort, and you're searching for answers, and you're all that. I think you have to just table it. I think you go to all your appointments, you get checked out. And once you realize you have nothing that a doctor can diagnose you with, you have to just be healthy and relax and give it a shot. Just relax and see what happens. See if, like, you put me through a nice test where is your pain neuroplastic, right? Does this happen? Like, are these observations? And it was like the percentage of neuroplastic pain, I was 88, 90%. And so I think you have to start, once you go through that effort, okay, then give that a shot. What else are you going to do, right? You're going to keep going back to the urologist. How many doctors are you going to see, right? It's how I laugh at it. Like, I have 6-month or year check-ins, and I'm like, what are they going to tell me? They just keep telling me nothing. Like, at least I had one doctor tell me, hey, make some lifestyle changes. That to me was better advice than continue taking antibiotics. You got to relax as much as you can. And I still think I'm still going to be me to some extent, but a different version of me, right? Like, times to dial it up, but are you stuck being dialed up all day? And that's kind of, I think I was all the way, the knob was all the way, all day long. You got to let those stressors go, whether it's your in-laws, whether it's your wife, whether I had to list everything that caused me stress. A lot of my loved ones cause me stress, but you got to appreciate them and let that stuff go. So I'm learning to do that, and it's been helpful.
Well, the key that you've been hitting on here, Sean, is calming the nervous system, recalibrating that nervous system, right? Retraining your brain. For those that are watching this, you might be thinking, well, Sean's speaking a lot about stress and anxiety and emotions. He's not really speaking much about pain. The reason is, oftentimes than not, if you're suffering from chronic neuroplastic pain, right, it's directly correlated with a nervous system that's not properly calibrated. So what you're demonstrating here, Sean, is that when you could calm your nervous system, calm your anxiety, right, retrain your brain, be more mindful, that is a way for you to manage and resolve your chronic pain condition. You see, this is the key that most people don't understand. They're looking for, oh, my pelvis is tilted at 2 millimeters, anterior, posterior, or this muscle is sore, that muscle is, there's inflammation and yada, yada. That may all be true, but what we're finding is those are not the root causes of chronic neuroplastic pain. That is persistent beyond the normal course of healing, right? If you're out there suffering from chronic pain for 6 months, 9 months, 12, 18, 36 months with no known cause, no infection, no disease, no direct physical trauma that is still causing this pain, Sean has a message for you. It's your nervous system. This is what I'm getting from you, at least. Am I wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. And evidence is the doctor's appointments. So go to them, right? Get checked out. I think I've done as much as you can do. And I have a long history dealing with this. And so I remember when I first started dealing with this, I figured in 2 weeks it would go away. I've had issues in the past where I've had little flare-ups because I pushed myself too hard and I was immediately able to get back to baseline. This time I couldn't do it. And I'm still working on myself, but there's so much for me that has gone on, right? You lose your grandmother, your mom, your dad, you go through COVID, you get so many things that I think built up. And I'm finally trying to get back to like a normal state of mind. I am not fight or flight constantly. And it's over little shit. Like I would ask people, how are you stressed out over little stuff, right? Are you freaking out over little things? And I was, right? So that means I'm constantly on edge. So yeah, trying to be way more mindful. It's a work in progress. All are, but definitely improvement, man. I'm excited to go 3 days working out and enjoying life with my family on the weekends without really any pain. And then I get through 4 days in a row at the office with discomfort, but honestly, having ways to deal with it been really help. I mean, it's been a lot of progress there. So I just have to keep going. That's all at this point. And I'm still, so I didn't share this with you. I'll share this now. I went to my annual physical and they're like, yeah, we can help you. Right. They have no idea, right, what to do for you. But there was an ND that was right down the hall, naturopathic doctor, and they focus on, you putting into your body. They take a look at a lot of labs and blood tests and stool sample, and they look for stuff. And I did go down that path, but not in a way to sort of the answer for chronic pelvic pain. More like, how could I be healthier? Is there something that they will find? Also do stress management and all that other stuff there. But to me, I still explore a little bit, but in a responsible way. I'm not looking for so much that magic bullet. Not expecting that. I am trying to be the best version of myself. And if an ND could uncover things about whether it's my gut health or whatever, so be it. Like, I want to be as healthy as possible. And I think that's a great starting point for people. Make this observation. Just talking about this much, and I don't, again, like some of the symptoms for me, right? Just even giving it the attention. I don't know if others feel the same way, or people that, I don't know if you were, Christian, I know you're not in pain right now, but like beyond the point that I'm at, but I wonder if people just giving it attention feel some discomfort. And just sitting here talking about chronic pelvic pain, I think that's why a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
I think that's a huge takeaway, Sean, and more energy that we give it, right? What you focus on expands. So that ties into what you were saying earlier, getting back to life, being grateful, getting out there, moving a little bit, even if you're in pain, is so important, because chronic neuroplastic pain, whether it's chronic pelvic pain, fibromyalgia, there's a whole host of conditions that are neuroplastic. It's a heavy topic, and it can become really draining to talk about it and focus on it. So yes, that is a common situation where the more we focus on it, the more we discuss it, the more those symptoms could ramp up. But regarding optimizing your life, whether it's your biomechanics, right? If you have a pelvic tilt or you're looking to move better, all of that stuff is important, but it should not be at the detriment of getting to the root cause of your condition. And I know you and I worked a lot on that. And you mentioned some things a little bit earlier about losing some people in your life, parents, in a very short period of time. And I remember, Sean, when you and I first got together through our coaching program at Pelvic Heal, and now Your Life Beyond Pain, remember you telling me, everything's fine. I'm fine. There's no issue. That was in the past. That has nothing to do with anything, because you were just so focused on the physical. How do I move? How do I stretch? Which doctor do I see? Which medication should I take? What should I eat? When should I get to bed? And again, all of that stuff is important. You need to go through the paces and turn over the rocks. But I think at some point you came to the realization that there's way more to it than that. And that's where we really came in, and we come in at Your Life Beyond Pain with the accountability and the coaching. So you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the mindfulness is hard for people to get their heads around that, right? We're looking for a diagnosis. We go to a doctor, right? And they diagnose you and they treat you. And it's either something they give you or you get recommended for surgery, right? Or there's something to fix it. And so you start going to you go to your doctor, you go to a specialist, you go to, again, pelvic rehab, you go wherever you go, you're looking for something, a chiropractor. There's so much information out there where you feel like, wow, there is something for you there's something that you don't know. There's something like, so it's, again, you're in physical pain. So that it's just natural to think that way. For me, I think I had to think not just your coaching, but I also thought about when I went through this in college. Again, I was at a hospital. They did everything they could possibly do. They didn't find anything. And they just threw up their hands. And at one point, my dad said, okay, well, I think he gave me $200. He said, go out and buy healthy food, get out, get the groceries, get the fish, get whatever, just take good care of yourself and go relax, right? Just accept the fact that this is what you got, right? But just go relax and go enjoy your life. Do the best you can. And that resolved. I've told you about this. I had the summer of my life. I wasn't even thinking about it. I did what I could do. I didn't stress about what I couldn't do. I ate healthy, felt good, and it resolved itself. And so I try to think a little bit about that now. For me, that stuff worked. I took the antibiotics. I was on antibiotics for years. Stretching, the pelvic therapy, all the physical therapy, none of it did anything. Honestly, it made some of the symptoms worse. For me, the only thing that helped is just relaxing, talking to myself, breathing. Still think it's funny that I'm literally in pain going to the gym. I get into the gym, I get on the machine, I close my eyes, I take a few deep breaths, and I relax myself, and I tell myself, and I convince myself that this is good for me. And all of a sudden I start exercising and I'm in like any pain or no pain. So I think if you start doing those things and you start seeing some results, it's a little bit easier to wrap your head around it and to believe that this is the right way. The problem for me is that I'm wrapped so tight. There's been so many years of me being this intense person, probably trauma from when I was a kid, pushed hard and pushed through pain and endured. And so nothing was good enough, like all this going on in my head. So to unwind it, it's going to take some time. I'm starting to finally get there, able to sit outside and just relax and be without worrying about what I'm supposed to be doing. What should I be doing at this point? Can I just relax and giving myself permission to finally just relax and do nothing? So,
well, we talk about chronic neuroplastic pain as a mind-body condition and a mind-body syndrome. And a lot of people either don't understand that, or if they do understand it, they don't want to accept it. But what you just described right there exemplifies that to a T. You're going to the gym, you're in some discomfort, you're not happy about it, but now you're using your mind and the tools that we worked on, right, to send signals in your brain, to send signals that everything is okay and there's nothing physically wrong with you. And you're actually going through a process where you're moving your body, something that would have triggered more pain in the past, but your mind is now directing to your body that there's nothing physically wrong, and the pain dissipates. That is the essence of a mind-body syndrome. And this is what people need to understand. We're not saying don't go to the doctor. We're not saying don't get checked out. We're not saying don't do the tests. Sean, you did that for years. I did that for years. But at some point, if there's nothing physically wrong with you, you have to start looking at this in a different way. And for those that are watching this saying, wow, you had this when you were in college 20 years ago, you betcha this can come back if you don't take care of yourself. That is the essence of chronic induced stress, mind-body conditions, accumulated low-level stress or tension or anxiety that accumulates. Not a big event like an atomic bomb, but slowly that pot of water is on low for decades and decades. The heat is on low, and eventually that pot explodes.
Yeah.
For some people, it explodes in cancer. For some people, it may explode in an autoimmune condition. For some people, it may be chronic pelvic pain. For some people, it might be fibromyalgia. So I think what you're getting at here is so important to really help people understand there's more to this. It's anxiety driven, it's stress driven, right? It's mindset driven. And you have to continuously work on that. Not just physical. And I know we say it sometimes until we're blue in the face, but I think people need to hear it because I needed to hear it. I didn't believe it for 2 years until I woke up one day and said, this is all nonsense. The MRIs, the MRNs, the x-rays, the scans, the tests, over $50,000 in treatments and medications and injections and travel and physical therapy. Enough with this crap.
Yeah, I went to the doctor. She thought I was one of the healthiest 40-something-year-olds she's ever seen. And she said the numbers, the blood, everything. It's like I'm being told I'm super healthy, right? They're not finding anything physically wrong with me. And they never did when I was in college. It was always funny when you go through this, something like this, when you're younger at 19, 20, I will say it was pretty, even though I got myself out of it, I was always pretty mindful about not overdoing it. And I always equated it to the physical. At least because I never really understood how I even got myself out of it in the first place. I just had this amazing, relaxing summer. Never really thought much of it. I go from normal, what I would call normal, and then I'm at a place like Bridgewater for 8 years, and that was super stressful, but then I wasn't putting the physical stress on myself. So then I was able to balance that. And then I went to Starwood, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. It wasn't anything like, so I was able to now start exercising and doing more physical stuff because I wasn't mentally as taxed. And then I transition, and then again, we get to that COVID place, and I'm thinking to myself, well, shit, I'm stressed in every way you could be, right? Emotionally, physically, every way. Again, you have that perfect storm, and then all of a sudden you're in pain, and now you have to make some changes to get out of it. And so it's definitely a stress-related condition, and I'm a stressful person. I know I'm stressful. That's the work that has to be done, and it's not easy for people that, smart people, type A type personalities. Now I got to calm down. Now I got to do less. Now I got to relax. It was working with a nutritionist, and she was saying that she's like, I got to tell everybody else to like more, and you're the only client I have. I got to tell you to do less. You're just trying to tell me that just calm down and relax. And that's something until somewhat recently, I still wasn't totally getting it. Now I'm making more progress.
Yes, and that's why these mind-body conditions and these neuroplastic conditions like chronic pelvic pain, fibromyalgia, and probably a dozen others are oftentimes the result of type A driver personalities, go-getters, people that put a lot of pressure on themselves. And those that might not be familiar with some of the companies that you mentioned, these are top financial firms in the United States and all over the world, Sean, that you worked for at a very high level, that you continue to work for. You were a top athlete at a Division I university here in the United States, which is not easy. You were top of your class from an educational standpoint at that university as well. So in the modern world, there's a lot of pressure, especially in the United States. There's competition, there's pressure to perform, pressure to do things, pressure to be somebody. And I think the key takeaway that I'm getting, at least from your journey here and your transformation, Sean, is just to let a lot of that stuff go, not to give up who you are, because you're still very successful and professional and you have goals and ambitions, but to let a lot of that stuff go, just to give it less focus, less weight, less importance. I think your dad's advice that he gave you was sage wisdom, just to relax, chill out, calm down. I think that's something that we all can learn from, because at the end of the day, living too far in the future does create a lot of anxiety, and that anxiety can really dial up the pain experience. And for you and me and everyone watching, we cannot eliminate stress. Like, you cannot go to Thailand, become a Buddhist monk, leave your family and never have stress. That's just not practical. So to be clear, that's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is you have to understand how to manage it. You have to learn tools and strategies and techniques to reduce it. You have to learn how to calm your nervous system, all while at the same time learning skills and practicing ways to increase your capacity. Because what you're sharing now is you still have the stress, you still have things coming at you, but you're better equipped to cope with it. And you're also increasing your capacity for movement and for exercise and to push yourself, not as a crazy person to drive yourself back into the ground like I did and like you did, but gradually. So it's that dance, it's that balance. I think that's the key to your life beyond pain and to sustainable recovery. Because anyone can come on here and say, oh, my symptoms went away, I felt great. Okay, but how do you feel 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? We want to create a sustainable life beyond pain. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. I mean, and I put some of that on my own son, right? Like going to his games or his soccer practices and pushing him. Like I started, it's not like he's not going to show up and play hard. I mean, he's going hard no matter what. Go have fun. Go. What would I have wanted my parents to say to me? Go have fun, Sean. We got your back no matter what, you know? And the more I don't say anything, the better he plays. It's like not like I'm going to go to work and not try. You know, do I push myself? Really? Like I'm trying no matter what, right? So some of the things you can kind of just let you are who you are. Like there's you like about myself, but then there's the things that are like, why stress about that? Like the bills are getting paid, everything's fine. You know, like life, we can't everything. So there's definitely some wisdom. I think about what my parents would say to me if they were here or sitting next to me. And a lot of it would be to calm myself down and not stress unnecessarily. So, you know, I have a lot of growth, but you gotta, for me, like I had that weekend, even that last weekend, like to me, that was like a breakthrough. Wow, 3 days in a row. And using the techniques, breathing, relaxing, just being present who I was with, not just going to the alcohol. Like I didn't even to do that. It's funny that it's like the more healthy I've become, I don't even want to do that. You start your tastes, everything's to change a little bit. So yeah, dude, once you start getting a little success and once you start seeing a little progress, I think that it's motivation to kind of keep going and to go to one doctor. Oh, this doctor didn't tell me anything, so let me go to another doctor. I think everyone's give this a shot. At some point, you have to tap out and decide that you're going to make some changes, you know, and see how it goes. So.
And Sean, you're doing everything now that you said you wanted to do when we first started working together. You're back to the gym multiple times a week. You're being able to watch your son play soccer and not have to worry about being in pain. You're taking trips with your family. I know you've been on some great trips. And just to make things clear, it didn't happen overnight. We worked together through our program for about 6 months. And so when you came in, you had all these goals and everything you wanted to do. but just maybe you can let people know it wasn't like this for you. It was like this, up and down, up and what recovery is like.
Yeah, it's trial and now. I feel like worth mentioning this. Like, there's times where I temptation of getting stressed out or getting in an argument with with something, or I have a few drinks and I think it's okay, but then I end up having one too many. And I think when I make a mistake now, or I view it as such, I'm not as hard on myself as I used to be. I'm very forgiving now, like more understanding. I've been lying to give myself a break. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to have a few steps and just tell yourself that, okay, let's learn from that. Like, note it, move on. Because that will help me. Like, beating myself up, I'm a loser, telling myself I'm a drunk, whatever the words, usually an hour the next morning is when I'm talking like really poorly about. So I've cut that out too, and that's been helpful. Like, yesterday we had in the office, I felt like I was eating like terrible. And then I kind of felt guilty. I'm like, what am I doing? It's birthday cake. This is like, we have this like once a month, relax. So not to be so fixated on being perfect, and cut yourself some slack. Because if you're going through this, like, you give yourself some slack.
We are our own worst critics, and the inner dialogue that we have is often negative, beat ourselves up. If we actually had a recording of the thoughts and what we say to ourselves day to day, I think it would be quite shocking. So I know you and I worked on this in the program, and we're working with clients at Your Life Beyond Pain on the self-talk, really getting a grip on not what you're saying to other people, because that is in many ways proper and we want to do the right thing. What are you actually saying to yourself when no one's around? And I think most people, when they actually start analyzing that, realize that it's very negative, and in some ways it can be very toxic and very, in many ways, a contributing factor to the chronic pain experience. So getting a grip on that, being kind to yourself, showing yourself some grace. You've been through so much in your life, Sean, so many struggles. And again, when we first got together, I felt like, as your coach, like, you didn't even that. I know we had a few discussions where I said, wow, like, they were just almost like speaking with a friend, where I think I said, Sean, like, how do you do it? Like, I was just taken back by how you were able to do so much, be so much of all of this, all that in your life. And I think, from what I remember, you were kind of surprised by, you were kind of just like, what do you mean? Like, this is just happens, like nothing really bad. This was I was just like thinking, wow, I'm not sure if I'd be able to get through that.
Yeah, it's funny when you share it with someone else and they react the way you did. It's like, whoa, okay, maybe something pretty special. I'm proud of myself. But I bring up the being hard on yourself because I think when you're going through this, you're, right? Or at least for me, it's like you have the ups and sometimes getting to the gym. When I first started trying to get back in the gym, I was having, flare-ups. I don't want people to think that they need to be perfect, or there won't be, like you said, the healing process is totally linear. Like, there's going to be missteps. And I just think beating yourself up is not going to help you. Just take what you can from the experience and move forward. Because it's just, I heard somewhere, I don't remember where I heard this, but when you're talking to yourself and you feel like talking to yourself in a negative way, try to pretend you're talking to your like 10-year-old. Would you yourself that way as someone like who's young, right? Ever be that mean to a younger version of yourself, and that kind of impactful.
It's powerful stuff, the inner child, and really speaking the way you would, or in your case, you have a young child, so you could really kind of experience that. So I think this is a good segue for us to wrap up. You mentioned moving forward. What are you looking forward to in your near future, Sean? Life, family, trips. What do you forward to? We speak a lot about this in our Your Life Beyond program, having a compelling vision to move you forward. And it doesn't have to be a trip to Bali or curing cancer, right? It could be something simple. What's important is that it's important for you,
Yeah.
right, to move forward. So has nothing to do with pain. Like, I'm just curious, what are you looking forward to? What do you have going on in your life?
So, I mean, right now, so my son qualified. His team won the Mid Atlantic for USL, so they're going down to Tampa. So I'm excited for that. They qualify. They'll be playing nationally, so for his division. So that's exciting. Looking forward to just being super supportive. What that will be for him. Can I just there for him and keep it light and keep it fun? So looking forward to that. That's a bit he accomplished, and this whole team. And then we're going to be planning a spring break trip. I think we're going to do Mexico, where we're doing like all this zip lining and cave stuff, and it'll be a very active trip. And so I have to be able to obviously do all the activities. And you know what? I go on. I can jet ski, no problem. I can do everything. So I'm looking for that. That's another neuroplastic evidence right there, right? On vacation, somehow can jet ski for 30 to 45 minutes without any pain. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to kind of amping up. Again, I don't have any major, like milestone. I want to be able to do more, and especially as my son gets older. I definitely want to be a dad that's kicking the ball with him and stuff, and training and stuff like that as he starts to learn more about how to take care of his body, how to eat right, and how to, as he gets gym and starts doing winter training. So, for me, it's not the training's not really about me anymore, accomplishing my goal. It's being kind of able to my son, right, and to have that bond, and to continue the bond, and to be, an example, and want him to look at his dad and be like, yeah, like, look, he's healthy, he takes care of himself, he exercises, I can train him, and so kind of like he's, the future as far as like what I'm passionate about.
Oh, your son is your why, your family. And a lot of times people ask, and I ask this myself, why did we come down with this condition, right? Whether it's chronic neuroplastic pain, pelvic pain, whatever it is. I'm curious, would you say that having gone through this experience, the suffering you've been through, and now this transformation coming out on the other side, you think it's made you a better parent?
Yes, 100%. So I don't know. My dad was this way. He would admit he was a very selfish person, right? He always had his hobbies. He did his motorcycle racing. He did his tennis. Like, he fit in his family around that. And I was headed down the path, right? I was doing a lot of motocross racing on the weekends, and that would have conflicted with things that we do as a family. And I got away with it when Ben was young, and my wife would, stroll him, everything else. But now that he's getting older, it's different. Like, we got to do this stuff together. Like, I got to be all in on it. I got to support him. I also was present with Diana. We used to have, like, I remember when we were younger, she'd do her thing during the day, I'd do my thing during the day. We'll take a nap, meet up for dinner. Like, everything was kind of separate. So I feel like now we're more of a closer family, and we're doing a lot more together. Again, the vacations, we're now going 1 or 2 vacations a year. Kind of being a little bit selfish, I would say. I was really kind of feeling a lot of ways. Everything was about what I was pursuing. And so, I definitely am a calm, patient person, and, a better around that. I still think I got a lot of work to do as far as like, I need to appreciate where I'm at and really calm myself down. I'd like to not have any real triggers, but that's a progress. But yeah, much better person. I mean, and that's, I think of when I, why might I be going through this? Well, maybe to snap me out of that, wake me up.
Beauty in the suffering, the lessons that we learn through the suffering, the transformation that we get to go through the suffering, and who we get to become. And you're still working on it. I'm still working on it. This is the human experience. Sean, I'm just so pleased to see your progress and your transformation, and how you're living your life beyond pain now with your lovely family. And just continue living your life, enjoy those trips. It's posted, and we'll be here to support you.
That sounds good. I'm going to do as much as I can.
Well, we sure hope you were inspired by that transformation journey. If you're finally ready to get off the fence and begin your own transformation story, You can learn more about the Your Life Beyond Pain Coaching Accelerator program and determine if you qualify by checking it out in the description below.